Funding for Ukraine is one of several items here that's on a big to-do list right now in Congress now that they are back to work. Lawmakers, they returned to Capitol Hill this morning after a 2-week break. Funding for Ukraine and Israel, that is at the top of the agenda here. But outside of legislation, Republican lawmakers have considered ousting people at center stage when lawmakers left 2 weeks ago. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is in the hot seat for supporting aid to Ukraine. With that, let's bring in NBC 10 Boston political commentator Sue O'Connell. Sue, let's start with Speaker Johnson, right? But Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says that she would move to vacate Johnson if the House brings up Ukraine aid for a vote. So how exactly do you envision this sort of standoff between the two of them playing out here?
Well, Colton, if Marjorie Taylor Greene forces a vote, and she does have the power to do so, there will be chaos. And it could be worse chaos than the prior chaos the last time. Why? Because if she is successful in ousting Johnson, the Republican-controlled House could end up with a Democrat, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, as the leader of the House. How, you may ask? Well, because the Republicans have seen a number of early resignations, and by next week, the Republicans will have 217 seats to the Democrats' 213, and that means a majority vote is only 216, and that's if everyone shows up for work that day. So there are reports that Taylor Greene's Republican colleagues are warning her that forcing a vote on Johnson could not only result in a Democrat in charge, but could also force more Republicans to retire, and that might result in the Republicans losing their House majority, not even in an election. So she could be handing President Joe Biden a grand slam with Democrats controlling the White House, the House, and the Senate, and that is the definition of chaos for the Republicans, Colt.
Well, and with that, I feel like that tees us up perfectly because Donald Trump, he spent a lot of time attacking Lindsey Graham on Truth Social yesterday, a lot. Said that he's to blame for endorsing him for being in office, called him a disservice to the Republican Party. Trump came out, and this is all because Trump came out in favor of states deciding their own abortion laws, but Graham publicly disagreed with him there, right? Saying that there should be a national ban at 15 weeks. Why does Trump need to agree with Graham, right? Can't they have two different views here?
Yeah, you're right, Colton. It's not uncommon for a lawmaker to disagree with their party's candidate, even in an election year. Look, some Democrats have been very critical of Joe Biden on his Israel policy, right? But in this case, Graham is disagreeing with Trump because Trump has abandoned Graham's cause, which is to impose a 15-week national abortion ban. And Graham is also saying what some other conservative Republicans, like former Vice President Mike Pence, are saying about Trump's announcement. So, as you noted, Trump, of course, has responded by attacking not only Graham, but also the head of a hugely important national anti-abortion group, doing that on Twitter and X. So Trump and Graham, they've been here before. Graham usually does some sucking up to Trump, and then they make up. But we'll see if this time is any different, Cole.
Yeah, Sue, I want to ask you, earlier today, Senator Mitt Romney, he wrote an editorial for the Wall Street Journal, and he's calling on the No Labels Party to back either President Biden or former President Trump. So how do you envision the No Labels Party here impacting the race? Would making an endorsement for a Democrat or Republican be hypercritical?
No, that's a good question. But look, at the end of the year, according to news reports, No Labels had raised over $21 million. They're not required to disclose the amount of donors because they don't have any candidates. And since they don't have any candidates, they probably have a lot of money on hand because they haven't spent it. So if they choose to endorse and donate their money to a candidate, they could make a difference in the race. Look, their problem wasn't getting voters to support a Republican and Democrat on the same ticket. Voters often vote for different party candidates in the general election. The problem was getting candidates of different parties to be on the ticket together. So without a presidential ticket, if they want to stay relevant, I think endorsing would at least keep them in the conversation.
Well, and it sounds like that's the name of the game for them these days.
Indeed.
Sue O'Connell, thank you so much. Of course, you can catch Sue every Sunday right here on NBC 10 Boston. At Issue is on after Meet the Press. That is at 11:30, again, right here, Sundays on NBC Boston.